sunshine of the time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We have an awesome special guest with us. Our first guy on the grounds crew side of things, a greenskeeper from out in the Ripon, California area, works at Spring Creek Country Club, and just an absolute grinder. We were talking before we got on the show today. He was up at 3:50 in the morning. Now, for most people, that's a hell of an early morning. As we know, in the golf world, the greenskeeper side of things, that's just standard. But happy to have Trevor Larsen on the show with us today. Trevor, how's it going, man?
It's good. Got first rain of the year. That's surprising to say, but Central California, we're pretty warm. So dealing with that, got a lot of cool projects we'll talk a lot about, but we're good. We're chilling.
Sure, man. No, that's awesome. I appreciate you joining us. Now, first rain of the year, that just blows my mind because it's, March 18th now? And we've had so much rain on the East Coast, and I feel like every spring – is just so rainy on the East Coast. Like, how does a golf course survive? Is it just sprinkler central out there in California?
Oh yeah, we create our own rain, man. I mean, you look at Vegas, it's way different bird, but we get a decent amount of rain this time of year. It pushes on later. When I say first rain, I mean it rained for an actual day rather than, we had a couple like Florida sprinkles here and there, but nothing too major. But yeah, we got a pretty extensive sprinkler system that covers our entire course from the greens to the tee boxes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like you said, they're out in the Vegas area and even some Arizona spots, man. It's just desert. And all of a sudden you come across this lush green golf course, which is always fun and cool to see. And especially when you're playing it, to look out there and just see nothing but desert sometimes is a pretty cool contrast.
Yeah, I want to do that. I was supposed to be in Vegas here in a few weeks, but that ain't gonna happen now. But
yeah, little bare, a little empty these days with all the current situation. But yeah, you'll get there eventually.
Oh yeah, not worried about it.
No, sir. So, how long have you been around the game of golf? Like, did you grow up playing the game? And if you did, when did you get started?
I started playing actually when I could walk, essentially. My grandparents, my parents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody has been playing. Our old family reunion was a golf tournament. It was insane. My dad had the trophy a few years. I almost won it when I was 16, and my aunt snaked me on 18. But, I mean, my grandma, she's the heart and soul of it. She's 90 years old now, and she still plays. It took me till I was 17 years old to beat her. I mean, she'll even play in tournaments now and like team tournaments, and I'll give her a call and, oh yeah, we won. She can only hit the ball 6 yards now, but it's dead center every time, and she'll hit every putt.
Yeah, but 90 years old, there's got to be like a senior women's tees, right? Like she's got to be like probably nothing over 200.
I don't know what tees. I haven't been able to play with her in a long time, but I bet she'd tee it up from the blues and still kick my ass.
Love that. I'm going to have to get a tea time with grandma one of these days.
Dude, I want to. I've been working on it. She's 6 hours north of here, but we're working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You grew up playing. Did you play any college golf or any like serious competitive golf between, starting so young and now?
No, I didn't. I ended up sticking with baseball, which, if I could go back, I'd trade it up. But I played my freshman year. I didn't make the team golf-wise. And then it was all baseball. That's all I did. I lived and breathed that. And then, every summer, once or two times, we'd go out, the boys, a lot of baseball guys are playing golf.
Oh, yeah. I feel like especially after the collegiate level, I see so many guys transitioning from the baseball side of things to the golf course if they don't, make a run at it professionally or semi-professionally. So it's definitely the route I feel like most athletes in general, but especially baseball players kind of head towards after their career's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same motion, but it's roughly the same motion. We're still swinging something and trying to hit something as hard and as far as we can. It's the ultimate goal of baseball. It's why I could never play tennis.
Yeah. Tennis is just not my call. Not at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of because I came from a different sport background as well, and a lot of my friends that are getting into golf now, I think once they come to the realization where men's league just isn't the same as what they played in high school and collegiate, and they question, what am I going to do with the rest of my life on extracurricular activity? I mean, besides most people hitting in the gym or whatnot, I think golf comes into mind because they realize that's something, like you said, like your grandmother can play until you're 90 years old and more. So I thought that was just that's what
there's a
makes golf
longevity.
gravitate there.
There's a longevity to the game too that's got a little bit of appeal. It's like, it seems to outlast every other professional sport, and especially on the amateur level, guys from basketball, baseball, football, they all tend to gravitate towards golf at some point after their careers.
I mean, how many sports can you sit down for over half the time, drink beer, and then play for 5 minutes, and then be outside in usual gorgeous weather? I mean, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, if you're walking it and maybe your push cart has a little seat in it, you can walk and drink at the same time.
I'm at the country club, man. There's a lot of carts on that course, unfortunately.
Yeah, we found that too when we traveled down into the Orlando area. It was mostly resort golf, country club golf, and unfortunately, to our brand, there was mostly riding. We skated our way through a couple walking tracks, but mostly on the riding side of things.
Yeah, you got to do it sometimes. I mean, I usually play after 8 hours of work and, either grinding, shoveling, whatever. I'm going to take the cart, but days off, I'm going to walk it. You can't beat walking a pretty golf course and, experiencing the whole thing. If I were to ever be lucky enough to play like Pebble or something, there's no way I'm taking a cart if they even have them there. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no way I'm going to walk it. It's the way to do it.
They definitely do have them there, but I agree. You got to walk it.
Yeah.
100%.
Be a bonehead to take a cart there.
If there's one course on this entire planet that you need to take a caddy and just walk it out, it's Pebble Beach.
Oh yeah. I mean, if not Augusta, but that's if you can weasel your way in there.
I was gonna say I can at least pay my way onto Pebble. Augusta is one of those that's like, man, you got to know somebody that knows somebody,
and then hit the lottery.
Yeah, and it's just way too much finagling to get on Augusta.
Yeah, the dream though.
One day we'll get there.
One day.
But back to you on golf. So you didn't play any collegiate level. You played a little baseball. What got you into the grounds crew? Like, what made you say, you know what, I'm gonna start working some grounds crew at a golf course?
I did. I started with grounds crew, like baseball fields. I started coaching really young for like my senior project in high school, and they needed someone to take care of our fields out there. And so I took the head of that, building mounds, everything has to do with the dirt, infield, grass, etc. And then when I moved down to Modesto, where I'm at now, which short course is in Ripon, which is 15 minutes away, I started playing golf with my buddies again. The weather's down here is too perfect, and was a way to find free golf, and paid decently enough. And then why not work outside every day? And I fell in love with it even more. Started going to school for it with the University of Georgia online, so learning a lot more, getting certain licenses that we need to progress and get into that superintendent role one day and be able to run the whole darn show.
Oh, that's awesome. There's definitely, I know just from being around the scene a little bit, from like whether it's like different licenses to spray certain chemicals or, just a lot of different things that people really don't think about go into actually being able to run the whole show as a superintendent. But I got to ask you, is it John Deere green or is there something else out there that's just better to work on?
I like that John Deere green. Our whole crew, we got John Deere hoodies. I don't know if it's a little biased because they hooked us up, but we run a couple other tractors, some Toro equipments out there, some Jacobson. That's what our fairway mowers are. Our stuff's old, man. I mean, we've got mowers that are 30 plus years old, but we've got an amazing mechanic on staff that just kills it anytime we have a reel go out or something. 10 minutes later, whatever, it's fixed for back rolling. But I'm usually sitting on that John Deere. You got to stick to the green.
I love that. And it's something about those Toro mowers, man. We had one where I worked previously up at Elmhurst Country Club. We had one, it was a rough mower, so it wasn't anything fancy. But that thing, I think it was close to like 15, closing in on 20 years old. And it was just trusty as like some of the newer machines, man. It was an impressive machine to sit on because you knew how old it was and how many damn laps it made through that golf course.
Oh yeah, I mean, you take care of them; they're going to run forever. We were looking at the triplex mower I was using today on the surrounds around these greens, and our mechanic, he's like, "Yeah, dude, this thing's overheated like 4 times, and like it was spewing oil. I've replaced the head gasket twice, and he just rattled off all these things." I'm like, "Well, it starts first time for me, like whatever worked, right? It's cutting."
There's something about that mechanic touch too that just they always find the issues. It always works for you until you take it to the mechanic, and then it just busts apart right in front of the mechanic.
Oh, it's vice versa around our shop. That's how good our guy is. So everything will hit the fan when we're out on the course. We'll give him a call, and he's like, bring it in, or he'll come zipping out on his little cart and just look at you like you're dumb and fix it right in front of you and zip off. I mean, he's not rude and made him sound like a dick, but he's.
So you have a magician on your hands, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, that dude, he's unreal. Yeah, I mean, Rigo, he'll probably listen to this after I tell him about it, but Rigo, that dude's the man, and he swings it. His kid plays on a high school team. His kid's gonna be pretty darn good. So
that's awesome. No, I love that. I love seeing, you know, people within the industry, whether it's on the grounds crew side of things or, you know, up at the pro shop or whatever, you know, just getting their kin into the game. It's always fun to see guys that work in the industry, you know, kind of passing the torch to the next generation, getting their kids in it as well.
Yeah, we've got a really good program. I think her name's Sherry or Shelly. She works with U.S. kids, and we've got all kinds of kids camps that come through and are at the range almost every day or are on the course. And so it's pretty neat, especially with an exclusive country club. We get a lot of kids coming in for courses and things like that. And a couple of the JC teams play out on our course. So it's pretty neat. I always love when I'm rolling past the clubhouse and I see 50 kids out there on the driving range hacking away, and some of them, just messing around. Some of them taking it real serious. Like it's really cool. People have been saying golf's a dying game. I completely disagree. It's just getting harder to play because everything's getting more expensive. But you can still find a muni track anywhere, or do what I do is get a cup cutter and a cup with flag pin and go dig a hole somewhere and just hit at that. We've done that.
If you have the means, there's always a way. And it's funny you say that. Our podcast brethren over at Leave the Pin podcast have a T-shirt that says "Golf's not dead," and it's so simple yet so true. People love to just throw this game in the trash, media wise, and say, "Well, we're not getting the sales, we're not getting this, we're not getting that." And it's like, man, you turn around and especially on your muni tracks, they're packed. You can't get a tee time. The first nice day we had out here, the local muni track in Salisbury, Maryland. There was an hour and 45-minute wait starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, straight through the day till the day ended to get a tee time.
Yeah, it's packed. It's good stuff though. I mean, it's the way.
Yeah, it's far from dead, man. It's cool to see.
Yeah, it is.
A little tougher on the grounds crew at the end of the day and the next morning to, clean it back up and make it look good, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess it depends. We got our members are pretty good about taking care of their stuff. We got a lot of good equipment, to pull out divots or anything. We hand rake every single one of our bunkers. The first course I worked at, we didn't. We had a Sand Pro, which was really nice, but we hand rake everything here with a crown. We make it look, darn near PGA, like all pro status every day. I mean, I'll shoot you guys some photos after that. We make our stuff look pretty darn good.
Well, I tell you what, that was one thing that impressed me. I had worked at a local course before going to college up in Scranton, and Elmhurst Country Club had hosted a couple nationwide events when it was still the nationwide tour. And they kind of held that same tradition too. They hand raked everything for the members every morning. And man, there's just such a difference from what a Sand Pro does to being able to hand rake it and put your crown on it, like you said, and everything. Just that little bit of detail, whether it's there or, properly edging the bunkers to make everything look crisp and clean around the edges too. It's little things that people don't think about, but the minute you start slipping on that, it's so easy to tell. It's like, man, why does that not look as crisp and clean as what it did last time around? And I'd love you to walk us through that. Like, what does a common day look like? You obviously said you were up at 3:50 and, usually there before the sun rises. What's a common kind of practice of the crew getting through a day on the golf course?
Man, I mean, we've got a pretty good sized crew right now. We got 12 guys on staff. We got a neat schedule where personally I've got Friday, Saturday off, and then we've got a crew that's got Sunday, Monday off. So, Tuesday through Thursday, we're full tilt. We'll roll in there. Usual start time's 5. We've been starting at 6 because of the time change. I don't know if you guys do that over there, but we got later sun. So we're getting there at 6 now, and about 15 minutes early. Everyone's there. We're hanging out under the heaters because it gets pretty darn cold there in the morning. Our cold's not your guys' cold. I'm in a sweatshirt because it's 60 degrees here and it's cold.
I was in a t-shirt about probably half an hour ago. It's 48.
There you go. Yeah, that's our morning. So
yeah, that northeastern cold, when you're used to it and growing up in it, just hits a little differently, I guess.
Listen, I always say I'd rather be cold in 60-degree weather than be cold in 30-degree weather and call 60-degree weather my winter. So hats off to you on that one.
yeah, it works. It makes more time for golf, which is nice. But yeah, back at it. We'll all clock in. We'll sit there and wait for our assistant superintendent or the superintendent or both of them to come out. Usually our assistant George, he'll roll off everybody's duties. Everybody's got a first job to start with. For instance, my morning, I started off with raking the bunkers. I'm one of the newer guys on the crew. I've been there for almost a year, though, but that just shows that we've had a really solid staff. So raked all the bunkers, went through 18, and then hopped on a surround mower the rest of the day. Other times, obviously you've got a guy cutting the cups. You got a guy mowing surrounds, mowing greens. We have 2 different greens right now. When I say that, we have 2 different grass types because we're in a conversion of a lot of our stuff. You got guys blowing off the clubhouse, changing all the garbages. We've got the bathrooms on the course, which we take care of. Morning jobs. I think that's about it for the morning, and then everything goes awry from there. It changes day to day. Like I said, we've got some conversions going over right now. We're building 3 new greens, which is really exciting. We've got old POA greens that are about 50 years old, all on the back. We've got 3 new bent grasses on the front that are in play, and we got 3 that we just sodded about 2 weeks ago, and we're getting all this ground grass on it and filling up the new bunkers with sand. It's really cool. It's been a lot of fun.
That's exciting. Now, with you guys mowing the greens, do you guys hand mow, or do you guys have like a triplex kind of John Deere mower that you guys get your green mowing done with?
So, we're going off the tractor brands. Our bent grass ones we're doing with a Toro, a really old Toro. Reason, I don't know. I probably should have asked Rigo that. I think it's just a different height. And we use a John Deere triplex on the other ones. With the new ones that we just built, we're going to hand walk them. Obviously, it's a different, or I shouldn't say obviously, most people don't know. We mow them in a different direction every single day. That just so you don't put tire marks, wear, etc. onto it. Limits the scalping and everything. When we do a cleanup on the new bent grass greens, we do walk it. We don't actually use a cleanup. Cleanup being that outer edge after you get it. But with the POAs, we're going to clean up with it, or do no cleanup and just hit it with the dew whip, which is quite the workout.
Yeah, that thing will wear your arms out just on the front 9.
Oh, easily, especially if you got a big old green and you just whip it around. It gets to the point where I'm just dragging it. If it's a late morning,
yeah,
you just drag on the ground, get rid of the dew. But
what is this thing?
It's called a dew whip.
A dew whip.
All right, so obviously you know what dew is.
Yes.
So the back of the mowers, you got a little slot. It's pretty much, they used to use bamboo, but it's just giant, not plexiglass, but hardened rubber whip, essentially, that you put onto like a steel rod. It goes out, 15, 20 feet, and you slap that thing around the green and just whip all that dew off. I get an ab workout from it, but that's good.
Really?
Are you Googling
it's
it?
aggressive.
Yeah, I'm Googling it.
Very aggressive. And I'm actually,
look at that thing.
This is very, very, very bad podcast etiquette, but I'm going to share my screen because we do have a YouTube page as well. And, you guys can just check that out. Enjoy the Walk podcast on YouTube. And so here it is, guys. Pretty much, 15, 20 foot pole. And you just and that's the easy side of things. This guy's just whipping it back and forth, and it gets all the the excess water, all the excess dew that
not only that, if you're not running baskets on your mowers for whatever reason, it could be because it was just fertilized not too long ago and you want to keep some of that nutrient and things on the greens, or you just sprayed it and you want to keep all that kind of stuff. You're getting rid of any kind of excess grass or extra blades, or if your baskets are too full, it's going to dump off, and it's going to leave all kinds of clippings on the green that people aren't going to like. You don't want your ball to putt through a bunch of clippings. I think it was Justin Thomas who did that little chip putt a couple years back, and he had a blade of grass right before the hole, and he chipped it in from about 6 inches. That was great.
Yep.
I mean, we're not getting that deep on our course, but yeah, you got to get all that kind of stuff off, make sure they're clean. We got a lot of trees on our course. If anyone wants to, Google Maps it, you can obviously look over at the aerial. It's a thin, narrow track for the most part. We got a ton of trees, and luckily we've been hacking them out. Good old tree management. But we get a lot of leaves in the fall and blow off all those greens and make sure they're nice and crispy and clean.
Now you got to. And the one other thing I wanted to mention and see if you kind of maybe agree or disagree, there's an art to hand walking mowing greens.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the way you have to kind of make that nice clean turn. You mentioned a little scalping there. You obviously want to pick up at the right time. It's easy to scalp when you hand mow. Talk us through that art a little bit of just hand mowing greens.
Yeah, hand mowing, it's gnarly because, I mean, you only got about 2 feet wide mower, and that thing's self-propelled, and you got at least with ours, a very old sticky throttle. So when you're going, if you yank that thing down, that mower is going to take off, and it doesn't recoil. It's going to keep running, and you got to find that right speed and keep a straight line. And what a lot of people will try and do when they're first learning it is look at the line they've already created on their first pass, and you're going to get just nothing but squiggles. I always say whenever we've had someone new do it, or I've gone to courses where they don't really care that much, it looks like some ramen noodles straight out the package is their lines. But the idea of the trick is just get a spot forward, spot a tree, I don't know, a stake, something, stare at that, walk straight, keep a nice little pace, and get moving. That'll give you a straight line for one, and then you got to overlap a little bit, of course, just so you don't miss anything. And yeah, I mean, the art of it's insane. It's something you got to see. It's really hard to explain just because it's literally mowing a lawn. Sure. But yeah, if people are out playing and you ever get a chance to see these guys out there that early, one, don't hit at them. We don't want to be out there with you hitting at us as much as you don't want to hit into us. Give it a second, but just see how they do it. It's really interesting. These mowers are so close to the ground. I mean, millimeters of grass is there. It's insane how low these things get and how precise they cut to get your guys' putting surface is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's funny because the first time I ever hand cut a green, the superintendent at the time said, well, you did a good job. You cleaned up the edges. There was no, scalping or anything, but next time, can you just not have any boomerangs? I guess the second half of my green was just nothing but boomerangs. It was a little gnarly. And it's just something about, you almost think too much into it and you're trying to control that self-propelled mower when instead of you just letting it do its thing and just, let it run its course. So the more you tug on it, more you pull on it, the worse lines you get. So it's definitely fun. I highly encourage anyone who hasn't seen it or doesn't really know exactly what we're talking about to, maybe show up at your course, a half an hour early or right in the morning if you got a morning tee time, and maybe you'll catch one of these guys mowing the green by your clubhouse. Usually 9 or 18 comes right by the clubhouse. So it's cool to watch and cool to see if those guys are out there hand mowing.
Yeah, I mean, even the triplex mowers, it's pretty neat just to see anything that goes on if you're interested in it. Obviously, some people don't care, but it gives you a whole new appreciation for the course. I know when I play anywhere else other than in Spring Creek, I'm pretty overanalyzing everything, but it makes it more fun. And you start to get a grip on design. You're like, oh, it'd be cool if this was here, elevated or whatever. Like, ooh, like this is interesting. Like, why is this bunker here? Oh, you can hit it from that, and that, etc. Different styles, and then learning these guys' names that make them, like Peter Dye and whatever, and just checking out all these different courses and being on them and how people mow and cut cups, where they put them, etc. I mean, there's so many things that go into your course every single day that people just don't even think about.
Yeah, it's almost like I do architectural design by day, and it's kind of the same thing in architecture as it is with golf, buildings as it is with like golf courses. It actually takes a lot of thought, planning, and like design to go into a course to make it look like it's been there forever. And it goes to the same thing of like taking care of the golf course, like maintaining your fresh lines, whether it's first cut to second cut or second cut to rough or however many cuts you have. And then especially, the fringe around the green and then the rough cut behind that. It takes a lot of like getting mowers on the consistent line over and over and over again to make a nice nice line. Or even like when you show up to a course, for example, and their fairways are striped, there's a reason they're striped. It's not just because, oh, well, it turned out that way. It's like, no, I went up one direction and back a certain direction to create that stripe. And it's like, people just don't think about it, but it's all about how you, mow the golf course and approach the golf course from a mechanical side of things to set it up to aesthetically look good.
Yeah, it's really fun to look at, especially when you see like all these PGA courses and they show the overheads. You get courses that are striped or crisscross or 50-50, and the 50-50 one's the most impressive line to me because, I mean, you get one shot and then it's a whole circle. So, I mean, for anyone like obviously listening, most people are going to be playing golf. Next time you're at your course, take a look at these things, see which direction they cut. Say you're there on a Tuesday. When you get there Thursday, see what direction it's cut that day. Because if it's a good superintendent with a good staff, it's going to be cut a different direction all the time. It just makes it more fun. It adds something to your experience on the golf course, which is what I really appreciate about working in the industry and being able to see these little things, is knowing that a staff really cares for the course that you're playing, because we're all out there for the golfer. We're not out there to like, it's not a huge money making area until you get higher up. Like, it's fun. I have a huge passion for it. It's hard to put it into words. It's great.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because like I didn't spend a lot of time on the grounds crew side of things. It was only 2 summers, so it wasn't full on. But like ever since I've worked on that side of things, it's just made me like experience golf a completely different way. And it's like you said, from just noticing the little details and noticing, when a green is, say, cut like 12-6 or whatever, and then you can kind of see the cross patterns if they cut it 9-3, and it's like, all right, well, now my putt's a little bit down grain, or like the rollers ran over the grass this way, so it might be a little faster, if I have a putt going that direction. And it's just little cool things like that like beforehand. And I had played golf since I was like 5 years old. I just really wasn't truly paying attention to, or didn't know how to like look for it properly until I was on that side of things and understood that, like, okay, things get cut different ways. Things are just, treated a little differently. And it's cool to see as a player now, being on the player side of things again, of just saying, all right, well, I can take notice to that little detail.
Yeah, it's fun. And I mean, not too many, like, surprisingly enough, not too many people work grounds crew or superintendents, in my experience and from other people I've talked to. Not a lot of them are golfers. You get a lot of people that are out there just for a job. But when you get someone who's in my shoes, who loves playing, tries to play every day, a lot of the members there like it a little bit more when I set the pins, because I'll take a little bit of time to look at it. I'm not saying our other guys can't set them, but I know when I get out there, I'm going to make them as tough as possible, because I know I'm going to play that day, and kind of tuck them away. But it's neat. You get to learn kind of the general idea of pin placement, because a lot of the time when you're out there just playing any kind of like muni course or whatever, most players, amateur players, aren't really going to care where the pin's at, or really, take notice. And so that makes it a whole lot more fun. And obviously, any of the guys that don't play golf, they still really care. They know what they're doing, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you mentioned a little earlier too, which I would love to get into, is some of the renovations or like expansions to the golf course, in particular, how you're taking some of these POA greens and transforming them into bent grass. Now, are you creating entirely new like platforms with these greens, or are you taking out the sod that was the POA and replacing that with bent grass? Like, walk us through that like process of getting this course to have new bent grass greens.
Yeah, so it's a complete tear down and redo that we've done with these 3 and the 3 beforehand. So for instance, right now it's 2, 6, and 7 on our front 9. They all happen to be really close together. It makes it a lot easier for us to work on it. We built temporary greens, probably about 80 yards short, with some old POA from a nursery that we had, as well as some of the other greens that we did rip out. So we actually do have a legitimate putting surface on these 3 holes for our members, which is pretty neat. They're actually really gnarly because they're about 7 to 9 inches of sand. So it's pretty much just a bump with a flag in the middle of it. So if you don't putt too hard, chip too short, you're going to fall off. You go too hard, you're going to roll right off. So they're kind of nasty. But I mean, it's temporary. So what we did is we sodded out. We sod cutted all the POA surface out. We gave a lot of it to either members that wanted it for their own home or a couple of the local public courses around here that asked for some. We tried to reuse it on our course as much as possible. And some of it just straight up got scrapped. But it was about a 55-year-old green.
Now where do you place that POA? Like if you're reusing it, does that just get thrown into like some dead spots and fairways, or like how do you end up reusing that POA that's on that course?
Mainly tee boxes. You wouldn't want to put that in a fairway. It's not going to grow super high, at least very quickly. It's going to stand out. It's not going to match. We use a rye out there. Some of it's a little bit of Bermuda, but mainly some hybrid rye. Usually we put it onto these tee boxes that are a little bit more shaded, aren't getting a lot of sun or a lot of water, something that we can control. That POA is gonna be a little bit more resilient than the grass that we had on there.
Oh, that's awesome. Because there's always something like and I always get it mixed up because I just am not a complete, landscape side of things kind of guy. I just don't have that knowledge of like what grass type is more resilient. And I know that like I know the names, I know POA, I know Ben, I know rye, but like when it comes to, and then the funny crazy word that you always hear on tour out on the West Coast or is the zoysia grass. Is that the kind of grass that those guys just can't get enough of out there?
Up where I'm at, I don't know. I've never heard of that one. Our best grass for rough fairways and everything is the rye and the hybrid rye. In our climate, the POA greens are fine, but the bent grass is a lot more resilient. It can take the big heat summers that we have, and it can also take the cooler winters that we have, as well as just keeping shape and being able to play it the way we want to, whether it be firm or soft, depending on the tournament. But yeah, that grass, I don't know. There's so many different. I don't want to say varietals, but that might be right, of grass.
It's just funny too, because like you hear these guys on tour, like not the guys actually playing, but the announcers trying to zone in and like snag the type of grass that these guys are playing in week to week. And like when someone hits a bad shot or when someone misses a putt, they're like, oh, this kind of grass, if it isn't, it's growing higher this time of day, and this is why they missed it. Like they're love to blame, players miss shots on the type of grass and how thick or tightly it grows together to make a shot tougher from the rough or a putt bump off line. It's funny how these guys, try and put grass into the spotlight.
Yeah, it's silly. I mean, it's obviously just trying to make TV or radio or whatever they're on. Different grasses will affect, but when you're playing on one course, 99% of the time, it's going to be the same grass around the whole course. You can't blame that. Or sometimes when they say that it's like a dig at the grounds crew, that's usually a public course person or a member, and they try and blame the grass. It's kind of like a little nudge, like, oh, you guys didn't mow it, or something like that. The only grass that I can't stand is Bermuda. That stuff grows nasty. You have big old fingers, and when it gets dormant and brown and you try and chip out of it, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to break my wedge getting stuck in that. Or
welcome to the Eastern Shore of Maryland. We are exclusively Bermuda.
Ugh,
and this time of year is just frustrating as hell.
Yeah, just browning fingers, just trying to grab every ball and every club. But when that stuff's green and healthy, man, is it strong and tough and pretty.
Boy, I tell you, when it's pure season, when it's like high quality, ready to roll, I wouldn't rather play on anything else. I love it. But it's the off season where it does take a little bit of a beating.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it can take it though too. A lot of people are like, oh, there's a lot of dead grass on the course. Just darn it, because we've got patches it all over. They put it around the POA greens, the old ones. Like I said, they're like 50-year-old greens, these ones, and we've got patches of it. So there's some brown and everything. But when we hit May and June, I mean, our course is gorgeous. Everything's just green, striped, just well manicured, and it's very nice, especially for a flat track in the middle of Ripon, California, which if anyone actually knows where that is, let me know, because if you do, I'm going to be pretty shocked.
Kudos to them, right?
Yeah.
No, that's
either that
cool.
or you just came down the wrong part.
Yeah. Took a wrong turn off whatever it is out there in California and found yourself lost, right?
5 or 99 runs through here. I don't know.
So other than the greens, are there any kind of big, you talked a little bit about just design and, bunkers being in certain places. Are there any other big renovations you guys are going through right now on top of those greens?
Well, it's not only just like ripping some grass out, reshaping it a little bit, and then throwing on new turf. We completely put in all new drainage system, every single one of the greens that we're redoing. And that involves a 6-inch wide trench that's anywhere from 2 to 6 feet deep, with all kinds of pea gravel, all the way down to almost boulders, and then a couple different these certain pipes that have a bag and styrofoam around it to keep dirt out of. Testing those, making sure it works. Then you've got, after you do that, you fill it all in with the pea gravel. You got about 6 inches of more gravel, and then about 9 inches of sand, and then we're talking grass. And so it's a lot. We had for a while here, we had just about a foot and a half deep hole. It was anywhere between 6,800 to 7,300 square feet big, over some hills with some bigger holes around it for bunkers, and you couldn't really tell if you weren't a golfer what it was. And so we got that all filled in. Like I said, that sod just came in about last week, so everything's starting to look green and pretty. It's starting to slowly grow in together. But these new greens, they are big and they are mean. Our number 6 has got a pretty wicked knuckle off the back, and they're going to be fun. So the drainage, like when you look at these greens now and they're still dry after it's raining, kudos to whoever built it. I mean, they put in a really nice drainage system. There's so much more that goes into these courses and things that just people have absolutely no clue, including myself. When we first came in here, I had no idea how extensive these systems are, including a port where we can actually put a blower into it and push air through the system to clean it out and actually just push things around down under the green to make sure that they're clear and flowing right. It's pretty cool.
That's what always blows my mind too. And I didn't really truly understand it either until one of the courses, actually not where I live currently, but back home, which is in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, was redoing a green or two. I think they had some serious issues with the grass, just was completely gone. And they made the executive decision to completely just redo. And when I was like, young and naive, I thought, oh, completely redo, sod up, and then, sod back down. What else do you do with a green? And then, like you said, I saw them dig this freaking hole that was like at least a foot and a half deep. And I'm like, wow, there must be a little bit more into this than what I imagined. And it's really neat to see that it's not just, like growing grass in your front yard or whatever. There's so much technology, especially in these newer greens. I feel like post 2005, 2006, when it went from just the old style, like clay kind of push up style greens that a lot of like the POA is on, to like these new bent grass, just like completely designed. They're basically designed integrated systems under these greens now to keep them in tip top shape.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. They're extensive, they're crazy, they're tough to do. We did it all in house as well, minus the sodding. So I mean, it was our ground staff. We built these. Our superintendent, Mike Styler, he's a damn good golfer for one, but he was out there on a tractor for probably 10, 12 hours a day shaping these things and going over what it was. And he put in a lot of work. And he's, that dude's awesome. There's not much more I can say about him.
I just love the fact that you guys did it all in house too, because that's really cool. I mean, a lot of times you feel like, especially when you go from an older style to a new kind of technology, sometimes a lot of courses and guys, especially in the superintendent position, aren't comfortable with just having their own staff do it and want to bring in like professionals. So I think that's really neat that, your super just had so much trust in you guys to get the job done.
Yeah, Mike's really awesome with that. He'll give us an instruction. He'll show us how to do it, and he lets us go. I mean, he's very trusting of all of us, which is great. It's a really fun work environment, being there with them and being able to learn stuff and darn near daily. And then our assistant George, just as good. He did his schooling with Penn State, but not actually their NPA, and he's very, very smart and on top of his game. And so we get to learn a lot every day from these guys and be able to do a lot too. They're not just kind of like, oh, you're still just after your first year, like you're not doing this yet. They're like, all right, we're going to train you because there's going to be a day where someone's going to call in sick and we need someone to do it. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. And I hope that a lot of people out there are actually going to appreciate their green staff after this a little more, knowing how much goes into it, and knowing how much we don't want to annoy you when we have our equipment running on the course. We try very hard not to, but sometimes we got to keep mowing because we're getting towards the end of our day. Don't be mad at them. Give them a thumbs up or a wave.
Yeah, the best way to treat them personally, let them go through it, the 10 minutes, not even, that they're probably going to be in your way of just getting done what they have to do, and then they're going to be gone. Most of the times they're skipping from hole to hole, so just like a 5-minute quick, all right, buddy, pass through, get what you need to do, and get gone. They aren't going to hold you up too much.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I mean, for me, you just can't let them bother you. I mean, I know a lot of players that I play with. I call them, they have rabbit ears, meaning like the littlest of things will, like a pin drop, and they'll bug off. And then to me, I just don't think you're that focused into your shot. But just let them do their thing, because all they're doing is trying to make it the best playable conditions for the player themselves. So.
That's what I was gonna say. What do you want? Do you want to wait for a 5-minute mower to come through and get his job done, or do you want the course to not be maintained? Pretty easy option, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are also looking for an excuse of why they shank their drive, or chunk their chip. They're trying to find an excuse, and it's pretty easy to blame the guy blowing leaves over the hole, 60 yards away where you can barely hear him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of end-all be-all with golf, is we're all at some point looking for a reason or an excuse to why we hit that bad shot the way we did. And it's usually the guys on the course with the mowers or the loud blowers are usually the easiest and first thing to go towards.
Yeah, but in reality, it's always you. The hardest thing to accept.
The harsh reality of this dang game. But, are there any other we talked a little bit about technology in the greens. Are there any other high tech, pieces of machinery that you guys are using, or that's really out there making things easier on you guys from the day to day?
Us personally, we roll pretty old school with some older stuff. We've heard of some things. We have a machine called a hydro jet, which is pretty cool. It floats over the green on kind of a roller, and it's going to shoot water into the green so hard it actually penetrates about 6 inches without leaving a hole on the top. So when it's a really, really dry summer and it's early in the morning, we don't want to soak our greens and have poor putting conditions, we can use this hydro jet to actually kind of get nutrients and water down to the roots without having to soak. So I think that's kind of our coolest piece of equipment. I'm sure there's so much more other stuff these dudes have out there, but like I said, we roll pretty old school with some
now that's cool. That must be a West Coast thing, because I've never even heard anything like that. But just sounds really cool. I mean, just the one summer I did work grounds crew, we actually had a really hot summer, and we were out there just to kind of tell you, the hours you can put in, or not tell our listeners, not tell you, but, tell our listeners the hours you can put in on a golf course. As a grounds crew, we went and did our shift, had our like kind of late lunch, and then from about 2:30 to I'd say 4:30, 5:00, we were out hand watering greens, with a little bit of, there was basically like pellets that you would put in this nozzle that was basically provide extra nutrients for these greens, because it was, I mean, now granted, this was a northeastern Pennsylvania summer, but we had like 2 straight weeks hitting the hundreds. And just no rain. So we were out there hand watering.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I know, probably standard for you guys, but that's a heat wave and some dead grass greens. That's crazy.
Yeah. Almost seems like the equipment that you're saying it on a technology standpoint, that it's more like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. As long as you're just maintaining, the machine's going to do what it's capable of doing, and even better. Because you're seeing a lot of these courses that are cut. I mean, they're like, the greens are like tabletops. It's just, so my question is, we have some courses around here, they're kind of built, some would say it's built incorrectly, or it's built more on top of clay. However, as a aesthetic piece, they want to keep it green. But in the summer, it seems as if they tend to like overwater in a point to where because they want it to be lush and green. That now, correct me if I'm wrong. So my understanding is that when it's such a hot summer day, the water really has nowhere to go down to like the roots or whatnot, because it's like getting stopped by the clay. It almost seems as if the water is now sitting on top and boiling and burning it down. So my question would be, how on those hot summer days is how do we make sure that we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, where you're trying to keep it on the green standpoint, but also making it more playable for, your typical better player golfer. Do you have any like suggestions on that, on what you would do?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have that issue around here with a lot of clay in like huge areas. But what I've seen our super do and our assistant, our irrigation guy, is we'll water either really, really early in the morning, or the irrigation guy is going to go there after play is done and go and water and let that sit for as long as possible and seep in. Because, yeah, you can totally get water above that clay and cause, different kinds of diseases in the grass and kill it, and overwatering obviously, and create kind of molds. It's not going to let you regrow. But yeah, I would say get there either really, really early or stay late and water when people are done. And you want to do it lightly. I mean, these plants, they're not going to need too much. Clay actually holds a lot of moisture on its own. But you always got to give it a little extra juice.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we had. Unfortunately, it happened the last 2 years at the course I was at. Was a little bit of overwatering. We had those old clay greens, and it just got so hot. You could see they were burning out. So we kind of watered, and all of a sudden, we had pooling, and you could see kind of like stuff that just wasn't soaking in anymore. And it got to a point, like you mentioned, these mold and fungi started forming, and it actually got 10 times worse, when the sun came back up, when the sun went down and, these grasses started to try and breathe a little bit, there was just water there. And we actually had a long-term loss of a couple of our greens over the last year, which are still, heck, to this day, trying to grow back because we just had such bad fungi. So it's crazy. I would never want to be in the shoes of a superintendent to make the call of having to water or having to, make the call of what's enough, because there's such a fine line. I feel like, especially when you're cutting this grass down to get them roll at like a 10 or above, it's such a fine line of, all right, well, is it burnt out or are we watering too much? Like, where's that middle ground? And that's gotta be such a tough call.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's when you get someone with experience in the area or talking to the past super, and the golf industry is going to work together for the most part. That's where, like aerating is going to come into play too. Those clay greens, they get so hard, and like a tabletop, like you said, it's mainly from compaction, from people walking on it for years and years and years. And when you aerate these greens, which people get really upset when you call a course and, hey, we just aerated, I don't want to play anymore. Go get your free 2 putts and stop complaining. And but
necessary evil.
Yeah, 100% necessary, or else you're not going to have a green to putt on. Give it the 2 weeks; it'll be fine. But aerating, it's go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut you off there, but I just wanted to say, I'm pumped you got into this because, and I think you were getting there, which, I'll let you ramble on, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but aerating, it's necessary, like absolutely necessary. You said we have 100%. To do it, or less you'll lose the green. Like, why is it so necessary?
Well, like I started with, it's compaction is the biggest one. You're going to be walking hundreds of, if not thousands of people are going to be walking on this, 600 to 7,000 square foot surface all day, every day. So compaction, and most of them, if they're not clay, it's going to be sand under it. So sand's going to compact. Digging that little hole in there, they're anywhere from 3 to 4 inches. They're about a finger in width, depending on how big you punch these holes. You're going to be able to get down to the roots. You're going to be able to feed them with the nutrients and water and new organic matter just to get these grasses healthy. Then you're going to top dress them after that. That's when all that sand gets on there, and that's when people get really upset because their putts are too slow because of all the sand. I say that as someone who gets upset about that too, because you hit that nice stroke putting, and you're just like, if there wasn't any sand, that was in. But just know it's an automatic 2 putt. You miss that first putt, you're good. Walk off the green, you're fine. At least that's how it is over here.
Yeah, tell that to my course, man. They'll make you put that out. I had a I'm no joke, maybe 3 to 4 inch putt, and I just missed the putt. and I let the ball just sit. And instead of just like marking it real quick and picking it back up, there was sand on my putter face and there was sand on the ball. So I guess once I made contact with the ball, the sand pebbles just knocked each other, and no joke, the ball kicked right and I missed the putt. And let's just say I was pretty heated about that, and the rest of the day didn't go as what I was hoping it for.
Yeah, it should have just been a 2-putt. I mean, I don't know who didn't give it to you, but they sound like they didn't bring any beer that day. It sounds like they're using some pretty coarse sand, which you don't necessarily want to do, because if you're getting pebbles that big, they're going to affect your ball. If it's just on the face of your putter, it's going to get into those mowers and it's going to put little tiny scratches in the blades, and ultimately it's going to ruin it. So there's very specific sands that we use for everything from a bunker to fairway dressing to green dressing. There's all kinds of different sands. I mean, we've got 6 different pits of different kinds of sand, and we can get into that at a different time because it's literally just a dirt mixed with sand. You can Google it if you want. But yeah, back to the aerating. It's absolutely necessary. And sorry if you hit a course that you've been wanting to play forever and they aerated that week. Don't let that discourage you. Just still go play, man. It's going to be fun regardless. But yeah, after that, you're going to top dress it. It's going to seep in. It's going to grow. And then a week or 2, depending on your weather and your grass, nice, fresh, healthy, nutriented. I don't know how to put that into.
Your guess is far better than mine.
Yeah. We'll go with nutriented because it sounds ridiculous.
That sounds beautiful. That might go on a T-shirt.
Nutriented. Yeah. Nutri-Guys. I don't know. Off that, they get everything they need to live and just be healthy and thrive. So yeah, I mean, it really boils down to like my super says is compaction. You got to keep them a little loose, keep them a little soft. But I mean, our stuff's still rolling 10, 11 all the time because that's the way we keep it.
I love that. And, I would highly encourage folks to take that segment we just talked about and literally play it on the loudspeaker at your course, because aeration is making you letting you have greens, however long throughout the summer, a little bit of the spring, a little bit of the fall. It's letting you have those phenomenal conditions. So we can all suck it up for a couple weeks while we get through that little aeration process.
Exactly. And those who don't know, it's usually spring. Spring's the best time to do it at. So that's usually when it's going to happen. It's usually going to happen right after or right before the rainy-ish season. So a lot of times too many people are not playing anyway. But your course will always let you know. But just go play, man. It's still going to be a beautiful day. You're still going to enjoy the course. You're still going to hit the ball around. You're still going to be with your buddies, probably. Crack a beer. Enjoy the walk.
At the end of the day, just seriously get out there and enjoy the walk. Now, speaking of enjoy the walk, I want to transition from your work side of things and just kind of get back into your passion of the game. You ended up caddying for a cool little dude named Nolan Harris, so shout out to him. You ended up caddying for him. What's that?
He'll listen. I saw he entered one of your giveaway contests. He tagged me in it, and I was like, "Oh, you listened to him?" And he's like, "Oh, not yet." I was like, "Oh, you're going to." I didn't tell him I was going to be on yet. Though, so
that's so cool. So this little dude shot 4 over par, which I mean, for his age, is awesome. What was that experience like, being on the bag of a kid that just has that much talent at such a young age?
It's fun. I mean, because we can talk like real golf. I coach baseball, so I can coach anything if I can generally get a hold of it. And so being able to talk to him about a specific shot or a club or like what we should do it's so much fun to be able to have that little conversation as you're walking up to a ball. And then him knowing what he knows about golf, which is he's better than I am. And just being able to get that back and forth in agreement and then hit a shot, knuckle bump and keep moving, or if he hits a bad shot, bringing him back. Being a caddy, it's fun. I had a push cart too, so I didn't have to carry stuff, which was nice.
We love the push cart mafia. We are all about push carts.
Yeah, they're nice. But it was so much fun. He should have shot 1 under. I think he had like 4 doubles, and it was a couple lip out putts, then like only 1 or 2 bad shots. And I mean, he won. He's over at the Oakdale Country Club, which isn't far from here. He's the junior club champion out there. The kid's good, man. He's just turned 13. Happy birthday, Nolan. And yeah, he's gonna be something, barring anything stupid. But yeah, he's darn good. He loves it. And I mean, look out for him, Nolan Harris Jr. If I don't think he's gonna go with that, but Nolan Harris.
That's cool, man. And one of the things I want to ask too, just because I think we love seeing it, and there's just such an authenticity of the game at the junior level. Like, what did you see kind of like caddying in that tournament, not only with Nolan, but like the other kids that were, he played with and that he was around for most of the day, that was just different from like grown-up golf?
More fun. I mean, a few of them were out there with their parents, and it was kind of like little league dads. You swing and miss. It was pretty interesting, but yeah, a lot more fun. They were out there goofing around. If they got caught behind or lagged, if there was a jam on the course, they're out there just talking about whatever 13-year-olds do now, Pokemon Go and all that shit. I don't know. But yeah, and then they'd get out there and they'd focus up and they hit their shot and they move. Or it's really neat to see these kids with so much talent still out there, just going out there grinding and having fun. And I think it's opening the game up to a lot more people, and a lot more people are seeing that it's fun. That it's not this old man's boring game. You're gonna go rock Argyle socks and a pom pom on your hat. Like, it's so much fun to be out on that course with your friends. And a lot of them, these kids are friends. They played in their whole little junior circuit around here, and yeah, just a lot of talent coming out of central of California.
I think, man, there's so much talent in general in junior golf, and especially out of California where you guys can play a majority of the year. Yeah. But even like in our northeastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, DC area, there is so much activity in the game at a junior level right now. It's absurd. And these kids are just insanely good. It's like he talked about with Nolan, like he had an opportunity to probably shoot 1 under, and like not even in the blink of an eye. And like there's a good many kids out there that are like sniffing like even par at like 10 years old, 11 years old. And that's just so cool to see, because like there's a fire in these kids. And I don't know, like these kids are now looking up to like the JTs, Jordan Spieths, Ricky Fowlers. Like there's that kind of fiery flame that there's no fear in these kids.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you get dudes like JT. I love watching JT, especially at the Presidents. I love me some me.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And then you get like Ricky. Ricky's the one who really, I think he's the one who really broke it open for teenagers and the younger youth, just going out there in that bright orange, ridiculous Puma stuff, which I wear Pumas. I love them. But like, he's the one who kind of broke it up. And people are like, oh, it's not just this straight edge, collared shirt, slacks kind of thing. Like, you can go out there and enjoy yourself. And then, DJ obviously is kind of a goofball. And then, I mean, Jordan Spieth was a good one too when he was good. And yeah, it's just neat to see these guys that are rolling in and just balling out and having fun and getting on social media and being regular people.
Yeah. I think that's been the coolest thing, is like, obviously like the kind of older generation, Tiger's generation, never really interacted with social media. They just didn't have it. They didn't grow up with it. They weren't they weren't, comfortable with it even when it came out, because it just wasn't second nature to them. You got guys now, especially obviously Ricky, Jordan, and those guys. But then now you got the Colin Morikawas and the Matt Wolfs. Matt Wolf and George Gankus, awesome. And like their whole like Scooby Gang kind of stuff. Dude, it is priceless. It's great social media. Like, it's just good stuff. It's great for the game. And, it's not like the Happy Gilmore made fun of. It doesn't require goofy pants and a fat ass. Like, you can go play golf and have fun with your buddies, Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of the younger guys, man, Victor Hovland, I love that kid. My family's all from Norway, so having a Norwegian in the PGA who's not only like winning, but is just like a cool dude off the course, like, I love it. It's
We talked about this, and Dante can, kind of speak on it too. We talked about Victor on a previous podcast, and the upside for him, not only on like just a golf side, because obviously the dude is just insanely talented, but the upside PR wise for him is just through the roof. He is a gem for the game of golf.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to that last show when you guys brought him up. I was like, I can't agree more. Like, you saw him, he was out, I can't remember the tournament. We went out and won it. And then he came in to the next one, I think it was Genesis, and just tanked. And he was out there like plus 12.
Yeah.
And still just having a good time.
I was just say, you can't wipe a smile off that kid's face.
I really don't.
The passion for the game he has is unreal.
The guy's a goofball, but it's perfect because, like you were saying, and like we were talking, the kids coming up, everybody's in social media now. These kids are getting, the younger they are, they're getting, like you and I, we didn't have iPhones or tablets in our hand. These kids, like at these age, they do. And it's another way to connect with these pros, and it makes them, kind of puts them more on equal playing level. And it just gets those kids a little more jacked up that, oh, wow, like I'm going to tweet at Justin Thomas, and more than likely he might respond. You actually have that opportunity of like when you and I and like Dalton were kids, and we would have to go to a tournament in hopes to see like our idols, looking up Tiger Woods, and in hope for him just to, you had to see him face to face. Maybe there's thousands of people. You're trying to actually see if you can come close to him just to say, hey, what's up, Tiger, and get any type of reaction out of him. But he was a stone cold killer at the time, so he didn't. Now these kids, they'll get fist bumps or they'll get tweets and likes and all that. And that's another part of bringing, the younger crowd and these younger kids into the game and growing the game is just, they have stuff to look forward to, that not only on the course, but off the course as well.
Yeah, there's like a connection to it. It's cool. I was actually lucky enough to go to the U.S. Open at Pebble this year, and I got a high five from Bill. I mean, kind of a high moment.
Bill loves his high fives.
It was cool. I got a picture of it too. But I got to like talk to like Tommy Fleetwood. That dude quickly became one of my favorite golfers. And seeing him just stumble there, was it Hondo where he fell off?
I think right at the end.
Classic.
Right at
the end. Oh, that hurt so bad. I was watching. I was standing it was like I was watching football. He hit that shot into the water. I was like, oh, Tommy, come on.
One of my buddies down here, shout out to you, Steve DiCarlo. He is one of the largest Tommy Fleetwood fans in the world. And I texted him after that. I was like, are you okay, buddy? Is everything going to be okay? Because like that was just such a devastating shot to end a tournament for him. So yeah, I'm always pulling for Tommy when he's in the when he's in the hunt, because he's just fun to watch, man. He just goes after it.
Yeah, or that shot where the dude called it. Oh, he hold it and he put it in. That was insane. Yeah, I mean, you got your flags there in the background. I got my only flag is the Open, and I got Tommy on it. He's the only one that would sign my flag. I was kind of bummed, but at the end of the day, it was awesome.
Yeah, no, I've started a small collection here. That my most signatures are the PGA Championship. My parents and I went to at the at Bethpage last year. Got pretty lucky. We're there for a few practice rounds when the weather was kind of horrible, so the fans stayed away, but guys ended up coming out, in spurts. So we got lucky.
Yeah, that's cool. I did the Celebrity American Century, whatever, at Edgewood and Lake Tahoe. That was cool. If anyone in California, you want to go out and have a little party and watch a bunch of NFL players swing a golf club, it's cool. It's fun, and they're interacting all the time. But I mean,
that's like a glorified 4-day pro-am, pretty much.
Oh yeah, and they got some good golfers. I mean, Steph Curry. Not only can that dude shoot threes, he can sink putts. Like that dude's good. And I think his dad won it again this year. They're unreal. Tony Romo is out there. I hate the Cowboys, so I can't like Tony Romo. But he's fun to watch play golf, man.
Respect.
Yeah. Go Birds. But anyways, he's
all right.
That's right.
Let's go.
We're out here in CA too. It's all good. But yeah, it's a fun one. If you're out in California in that time, go. I mean, it's like $30, and you get to see all these dudes up real close, and they're all good golfers. They got beer and food everywhere. It's a party. Literally, people are bringing their boats up from the lake on the edge of it with music bumping and T-shirts and bikinis, and they're everywhere. It's nuts.
Now, that doesn't like many people can say there's not a perfect scenario, but that sounds like a pretty perfect scenario.
It's pretty close. I mean, if you're going strictly for golf, it's not a perfect scenario. You're not seeing JT, Tiger, and all these guys. But if you want to go out and have a good time while there's golf going on, and you can see like Patrick Peterson smash one down, or Kyle Rudolph, or Doug Peterson,
Right.
Yeah, you get to see all these dudes go out there and swing it. Or my favorite was it Vince McMahon, the old Bears quarterback, right? He was out there playing shoeless. Someone handed him a beer. Another person reached out with another beer. He goes, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. It's a 2-beer day. And went out,
just kept going.
Bung one down the middle and just trotted off in his bare feet. It was fantastic. Like, you get to see
That's
these dudes
awesome.
up and vaguely talk to them, because, they are trying to win. But, like, it's fun. I mean, go any tournament. It's great. I mean, you can see Tiger at Pebble was insane. We waited on the tee box at 4 and I think 17, 16. whatever there, right next to the third green at Pebble. 30 minutes before he teed off, and by the time he was actually coming up, there had to have been 50, 60, maybe even 100,000 people around us.
That's what I was going to say. First off, if anyone has an opportunity to ever go to any PGA Tour event, no matter where it is, what it is, go. Just go. It's awesome. Yeah. And then to build off of your Tiger comment, I went down to the Players last year, and he wasn't even playing that well. But first day on Thursday, right? Like you would expect, no one else is getting followed very much. Thursday's kind of a blah day. 8-10 deep around Tiger all day long. And it's like you said, you had to be somewhere 45 minutes in advance of him being there to even get a glimpse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got in. I was about 6 feet from Tiger. It was cool. His tee-off shot was about 20 feet. Got a clear view. That was awesome. But I mean, just to really tell you how many people followed Tiger that day, I followed Justin Johnson and Phil Mickelson all morning, front row, all 18. And then Tiger came out, and it was not 10 deep. It was 50 deep. It was nuts. And you couldn't walk the course anymore.
There's something to be said when you've been world number one about 10 times longer than anyone else in the world. So, I mean,
of all time.
Speaks for stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him at the BMW at Aronimink a few years ago. And in order to see him up close, we went about 3 or 4 holes ahead and then just watched the other players in front come through. And then he came. And then I looked to my left, and then you can just see this crowd, this wave just coming towards you. And you knew he was coming up because you can hear the people and you can just see it. And then it was crazy because it's true. If you want to see him on that hole and take his next shot, because we saw him hit it off the tee, these kids, once he hits the ball, I mean, I think he was the second guy to hit out of the 3 of them. These kids just took off running just so they can get up close on the ropes down in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool. You got kids and everything, and you listen to grandpa or great-grandpa. I got to see DiMaggio and Willie Mays. I got to see Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he's
fortunate enough to be able to do that before his career's over. It's pretty
He's definitely in that conversation with some of the sport's all-time greats. Yeah, it's just awesome. He's an icon, and anyone, these guys are so dang good, and we talk about it over and over again, but to see them in person, it just puts a whole new perspective on all right, yeah, these guys can hit the long ball, but yeah, they're hitting 5 irons to 10 feet, 15 feet. Most of them, their proximity to the hole was unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just the ball flight. If you're anywhere near up, you hear them, you can hear the golf ball when you're 50 yards down. They're
missiles. They're missiles. Yeah, 100%. But before we wrap up, I want to get into, your beloved brand as well. This is kind of how we cross paths. I saw that you had the Barefoot Golf Club brand. And I would love for you to touch on that and kind of go into how that all started. I love the logo. It looks like you're wearing one of the hats tonight. A little swing lube can. How did that get off the ground for you?
So it's Bigfoot, not barefoot.
Mental notes for next time.
All good. So Bigfoot was actually the course that I grew up on. It's up in Willow Creek, California. It's Humboldt County. It's 6 hours north of where I am. It's in the middle of the redwoods with nothing else around it but a bar. My grandpa was the bartender there. My grandma played every day. It's a little 9-hole track. And it's for me, my dad, my aunts, my cousin who's a darn good golfer. He's a super up at Meriwether in Portland, Oregon, Robert. And that's where I learned how to play golf. And unfortunately, they sold the course. I don't remember why, about 10 years ago or so. These people bought it in hopes of making it into a marijuana farm. And that got shot down because there's people who lived on the course. And from what I understand, it was a golf course for 5 years. They didn't maintain it at all. They tried to make it into a big fancy restaurant, which is impossible of a town of 300 people. And then, which is an hour away from anything else. And they tried to make it disc golf, and as far as I know now, it's just completely dead. And seeing all these small companies come up, and being an artist myself, I found an old chip from my grandma one day, an old ball marker with the original logo on it. It kind of sparked me to just start doodling, and some people saw it, thought it was neat, so I decided to bring it back. It's a Bigfoot Golf Club. We've been doing pretty well. I've sold quite a few hats here and there, and starting to get a small buzz. But it's only been around. I've only done it for 2-3 months now, which is pretty neat. And I mean, that's how we cross paths in this little golf community of cool apparel companies.
Yeah, the golf community is nuts in that way, you know, especially we talked earlier, just the ease of access on social media. And it was just neat to be able to cross paths and, you know, wish you the best of luck in building it. And hopefully, you know, we're not releasing anything now, but, you know, might be something collab down in the future for those listeners out there to be looking forward to. So.
Absolutely, there will be. I've got a couple other ones working on with some guys that you might know, that Keystone Golf Collective. I've been talking with Matt over there.
Love those guys.
Shout out to Matt. Matt's a cool dude. But yeah, we definitely get something on the works. I'm actually going to drop these hats here, the Swing Lube 7 panels, when this episode comes out. I heard a different guy do it, so I'm going to do it as well. For the folks that have made it this far in the episode here, 15% off over a $10 order, which pretty much just knocks out stickers. Enjoy the walk, one word coupon code for the site. You can use it once. But I'm going to have a bunch of new stuff. Just put up some hoodies with the Swing Lube. I got my Masters hats rolling, which, you know, now it's not happening. But yeah, check us out.
Still on, right?
I know, right? Oh yeah, they're still being made. Check us out. Instagram, it's @Bigfoot Golf Club. That's the main one. There's a Facebook page too. You can like it. There's like 10 likes on it. I don't really use it. But yeah, Instagram. And then obviously the website's bigfootgolfclub.com. It's got the full shop and everything. I'd really appreciate a follow or likes, whatever. It'd be cool. If not, that's fine. You know, just check it out. Keep listening to this show. I sit on a mower half the day, so I get to listen to you guys talk all day, which is great. You know, I'm still catching up on the episodes. It's a fun one to listen to. Super grateful and to be on, and yeah, we'll definitely collab it up soon. We'll get something cool rolling.
Let's get her going, man. Now, we appreciate it. We appreciate the time. Where can people find you on your personal page to follow you and, you know, whatever you're doing on the day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys feel like following me, that's neat. It's Instagram. It's not Trevor Larsen. You know, it really is me. Don't worry. It's Larsen with an E. So check that out. I'm sure it'll probably be on the tag of the episode here. But yeah, not Trevor Larsen. Follow me. If you want to, you can see my cat and whatever else I do. But yeah, I mean, that'd be great. And yeah, but big one, Bigfoot Golf Club. Yeah,
heck yeah. Make sure you guys follow them, follow him, follow his creativity. I know he's got a lot of stuff in the works, a lot of stuff cooking in the kitchen, as we say. So definitely be on the lookout for his releases and everything that's involved with this episode and everything moving forward as well. So coupon code enjoy the walk, and check it out, guys. One word.
I don't know if that works. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, message me. We'll get it figured.
That's it. He'll hook you up, guys. One way or the other, he'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, guys, that is Trevor Larsen, greenskeeper out at Spring Creek Country Club in Ripon, California. We appreciate the time, man, and look forward, as always, to keeping in touch. And as always, guys, enjoy the walk.
All right.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.